What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1, and we are continuing our 2025 predictions. The Oregon Ducks are up next, a team that a lot of people high on going into this season. Some people think this is a team that can win a national championship this year, definitely a playoff contender. Just to be honest here, I'm probably not as high on Oregon as some other people. Let's look back at my predictions from the last few years, and I'll give you my thoughts on this team, and we'll get into the schedule. Just how I predicted this team the last 3 years. So last season I had them at 11-1. They went 12-0. In 23, I had them at 10-2. They went 11-1. So they beat my prediction by one game the last 2 years. But in 22, I had them at 10-2, and they were 9-3. So they were under my prediction by one game. So the last 3 years, I've been within one game every single year. I feel confident that I'll be within one game this year as well. I don't know which direction that will go if I'm wrong on this prediction, but we'll see. Here is the schedule. And again, let's just get into this team really quickly. When I look at this Oregon team and this roster, I think they are really good everywhere across the board. I don't think there's really any big weaknesses here. I think Dante Moore at quarterback may be a question mark. I don't know if that I've seen enough from him to believe that he's going to give what Bo Nix gave or what Dylan Gabriel gave this offense. So that's a question mark, really. I guess that's the only spot. But yeah, I look at them across the board. They're really good, but I don't know that they're elite in any one position group. I don't know that they're elite. That's just kind of how I view this team. You know, they've got a lot of talent, a lot of depth. I think their depth will be really big for them this year. A lot of young talent. So I don't know that Oregon's going to be as good as they were last year. That's just my thoughts here. Again, a downgraded quarterback and a team that's just really good. Like, if I had to give a letter grade to this team, like almost every position group, I would say B+, 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 maybe A-. Like, I don't see them being an A+ anywhere, but I don't see them being bad anywhere. Again, their biggest weakness probably is at quarterback. You know, the defensive line, maybe a little bit weaker. But yeah, overall, this Oregon team, this roster is loaded. It's going to be one of the overall best rosters in college football. But will it all come together? That's the question. You know, it could, and this team could have a special season, or I really think it could fall apart. I think Oregon could have a very disappointing season. Of course, you guys probably already know I'm going to be kind of in the middle of that, but that's just kind of the way I do my predictions. But we'll start here with Montana State. That should be an easy win. I think, you know, no problem there. Then you got Oklahoma State, September 6th. I don't, you know, the talent discrepancy between these two teams, like, it's not even close. Oregon, way more talent. This game really shouldn't be close at all. Oklahoma State could be one of the worst teams in the Power Four this year when you look at their roster. You know, who knows? Maybe Mike Gundy pulls those guys together and they wind up having a good season. But just roster, like talent-wise, Oregon just has a huge advantage here. This should be an easy win. Then you've got Northwestern on September 13th on the road. This is, again, I talked about Northwestern on the Michigan video. I really believe this team is going to upset someone. When you look at their team, you look at the veterans that they've got on defense, on the offensive line. Preston Stone coming in at quarterback, veterans at running back, decent at wide receiver as well. I mean, this is a solid team. I think it could be even a top 25 team this year. I know people are laughing at that, but I really believe Northwestern could be a surprise team. And I believe that they are going to keep either Oregon or Michigan out of the college football playoff. That's how I feel about this Northwestern team. I think they're going to upset one of them. Obviously, you've already seen the Michigan video, or if you've already seen the Michigan video, you know that I did pick Michigan or Northwestern to beat Michigan. So I'm going to go with Oregon here. But again, this is the game. If Oregon loses this game, which I think is possible, I don't think they're going to make the college football playoff. If they win it, I think they should be okay. So that's to me, that's the swing game of the season. I think most Oregon fans will be like, well, we're beating Northwestern, so we're going to be in the playoff. And maybe that's the case, but I think it's going to be closer than you might expect. So again, I've said this multiple times. Keep an eye on Northwestern this year. You got Oregon State next. Of course, this is not the Oregon State team that we have seen in the past. This one really, I know it's a rivalry. We shouldn't be all that close. I like Oregon to win this one. Then you got Penn State on the road, September 27th. Going to be a great game here. Penn State, I think, is a little bit better than Oregon this year, especially just in terms of experience. You know, the talent on these two rosters is probably pretty even, but Penn State definitely has an experience advantage. I think Oregon's offense is going to struggle with Dante Moore at quarterback against this Penn State defense. Plus, they're playing at home. So, I think I said this on the Penn State video. From in terms of like the big games this year that people will probably view as swing games or 50-50 games, this is one I feel confident. I think Penn State wins this game, and I feel confident in saying that. So I think Oregon gets their first loss. Then they get a bye week before playing Indiana. This could be a tricky game here. I think it definitely bodes well for Oregon having this game at home and after a bye week. I think that could be the difference here. Because I do believe when you look at these two rosters, I think Indiana matches up pretty well with Oregon. I think the depth of Oregon is definitely going to be, an advantage. So maybe they wear this Indiana team down in the second half. And they're going to have better athletes. I mean, they're going to have, they're going to have a little bit more talent on the field. But I think Indiana can match up with them pretty well. And I think it will be a close game. But I do think Oregon in the end will find a way to get it done at home. So I got Oregon winning this game over Indiana. Then you got Rutgers on October 18th on the road. Rutgers, I don't think they can really match Oregon in the trenches. I think that's where the big advantage will be here for Oregon. I think they win on the road. It will be interesting seeing them go all the way across the country here. We saw that, I mentioned this before, we saw that last year where teams did not have good records when they traveled across multiple time zones. So that's something to watch. Especially coming off maybe a big win over Indiana in a close game. But I think that the talent advantage here for Oregon is going to be enough that they are able to take care of business against Rutgers. Then you got Wisconsin October 25th. A team that I think will have a good defense this year. I think the offense, that's where they're going to struggle. I think their defense could keep this game interesting, keep it close. But I think Oregon, in the end, will find a way to pull away in the second half, playing at home. I like the Ducks here to get this win. Then they go into their second bye week. Another really good spot for a bye week before having to travel on the road and play Iowa. Of course, that's a tough place to play. When I look at this Iowa team, I think they're going to be improved on offense. I think they'll be able to score a little bit this year. But I don't know that their defense is going to be a typical Iowa defense. So it's going to be, I think, a different looking Iowa team than what we're used to. And so, yeah, maybe Iowa will score some points in this game, but I think they're going to struggle to slow down Oregon's offense and their athletes on offense. When I was talking about this team, Oregon going to miss Evan Stewart for sure. When I was talking about, the wide receiver group might be elite if Evan Stewart was in there. Maybe he's back at this time, but I don't know if he's going to make it back this season at all. Maybe he's out for the whole year, but if they get him back, then I think Iowa really struggles in this game on defense. But either way, I think Oregon's offense, too much for the Iowa defense. I like the Ducks to get the win here. Then you've got Minnesota on November 14th. This one, quick turnaround here. Friday night game. Good news is you're playing this game at home. Minnesota is a team that I think will be pretty solid this year, but kind of like with Rutgers, I think Oregon just has a big advantage in the trenches. I think offensive line, defensive line, that's where they will dominate this game, and that will be enough to get them a win over Minnesota. Next up, we've got USC November 22nd. This could be a really good game. I think you look at these two defenses, both should be pretty good. I think it's a lower scoring game. I think both quarterbacks are pretty similar when you look at Jaden Mayava and then of course Dante Moore at Oregon. I think the receivers pretty similar. Running backs maybe a slight advantage for Oregon. Of course Malachi Hughes coming in there. I think he's going to be a really good back. I don't know if he's elite. I don't know if he's like a Heisman candidate, but I think it's a pretty even matchup here. I really do. I think the depth of Oregon, that's where they're going to have an advantage here. And then obviously playing at home. So I think that's the difference in this game. But I do expect a close game. And if this game was at USC, I might even change this prediction. But at home, it is tough to go in there and beat Oregon at home. It just is. And I don't know if they lose a home game this year. So I think they beat USC and they get to 10-1 before a big game against Washington November 29th. I've talked about this Washington team a little bit. I believe they're going to be very good this year. I think they could be a surprise team, potentially even a playoff contender. I really like this Washington team. When you look at their roster, their offensive line is maybe a little bit of a question mark, but everywhere else, they brought in some really good transfers on defense. I think their defense will be very good. I like what they've got on offense, and we saw the Jed Fish impact when he left Arizona. We saw how good they were on offense, and then he left, and they were terrible last year. And so I believe he's going to bring all this together on offense. They've got playmakers. They've got Jonah Coleman back at running back. This is going to be one of the best running backs coming back in all of college football. So I think that Washington defense rivalry game, they're going to play really well at home, and I think Washington pulls off the upset. So going with a second loss here for Oregon, that's going to knock them down to 10-2. That's kind of where I see this thing right now. Again, I really believe I'll be within one game. I really believe Oregon will go 9-3, 10-2, or 11-1. I feel confident. I just don't see this team going 12-0. I don't really see them beating Penn State, and I don't see them losing more than 3 games. But I could see them losing a third. Maybe it's Northwestern. Maybe it's Indiana. Who knows? Maybe it's Iowa on the road. I could see them losing another game, but I could also see them beating Washington and getting to 11-1. So that's kind of why I'm at 10-2, right there in the middle of that. Enough to get back to the college football playoff, more than likely. You look at the resume. Would it be good enough? You'd have a win over Indiana, who I believe will be ranked. You'd have a win over USC, maybe ranked. Iowa, maybe ranked. I don't know. That could be interesting. So if we do come down to like a couple of 10-2 teams that both have a chance to get into the playoff, maybe Oregon doesn't get in with this resume. I think that they probably would. I think they're going to start, in the committee's eyes, they're going to be viewed as one of the top teams in the country. And so I think they should be safe. But you never know. We'll see what happens across the rest of the country if they do, in fact, go 10-2. But that's my prediction for Oregon. I think, again, 9-3, 10-2, 11-1. I'm going right in the middle of that with 10-2. So I know a lot of people are really high on this team. They think they can win a national championship. I'm curious if any of you guys out there are maybe with me and think it could be a little bit of a down year, at least compared to last year. 10-2 is still a great season. So I'd love to get your thoughts on this team. Give me your predictions for Oregon down in the comments below.